Ah, hello. Glad you stopped by my final resting place. My name is Isaac Gray. You found me in a rather deplorable state, I'm afraid. But allow me to explain. In the early 1800s, I owned a farm near here, in Rupert, Vermont, off to the east, where one afternoon, in July of 1802, I was clearing some trees. Well, I was a bit careless, I'm afraid, probably in a hurry, and a top limb came down and struck me hard on the top of the head. Nowadays, you'd call these limbs widowmakers, because most men don't survive a blow to the top of the cranium. My family, my wife Martha, carried me off to Dr. Remington in Rupert, hoping he could save me. The doc called in a couple of colleagues for their advice on the dire situation. Well, Dr. Abram Allen was one of those docs, and he strongly suggested a technique called trepanning. He was very well trained in this technique and felt that it was only my only chance of survival. Others, including Dr. Remington, felt that it was much too risky and dangerous, as it involved puncturing the cranium to release the built-up pressure from the blow to my head. Reluctantly, the family agreed, but only if Dr. John Williams performed this procedure. Dr. Allen was allowed to dress the wound. The procedure resulted in the immediate release of the blood and tissue debris. My condition improved for a couple of days, but then I once again started to fail. Dr. Allen insisted on repeating the trepanning as my only chance for survival. My family was opposed to repeating the torture I went through and convinced Dr. Remington to put a halt to further infliction of pain. Soon, I was dead. Dr. Allen was beside himself with frustration and his inability to repeat what he felt was the life-saving procedure. Well, the family arranged for my burial, and I was resting quite comfortably until later that night. Well, across the road, in the little house, the greenhouse across from the cemetery, Bathsheba Beers was visiting from Shushan, visiting her sister, Sarah Hastings. Unable to sleep on the very warm summer night, she went outside to sit a spell on the front porch. It was a moonlight night with a pleasant breeze. Soon Bathsheba heard the approach of a carriage from the north and heard two men talking, but she couldn't make out what they were saying. As the cart neared, she recognized the carriage of Dr. Abram Allen, and in the moonlight from their rig, she could make out Dr. Allen and his assistant, John Collins. She had a great vantage point behind the lilac bush. They entered the graveyard and stopped right here, next to my new grave. It was then she heard the unmistakable sounds of shovels digging in the earth. Quickly, the two men returned to the carriage and left the same way they came. Bathsheba could hardly wait for daybreak to report what she heard and saw to the Washington County Sheriff, Nathan Wilson. He immediately found that my gravesite had indeed been disturbed and that my head was missing. The sheriff confronted Dr. Allen, who eagerly admitted that it was he who exhumed my body and collected my head. He took it to his office, the small brick building next to the post office now, where he performed an autopsy witnessed by several of his invited colleagues. They all concurred with Dr. Allen that he was correct and that a second trepanning may well have saved my life. Opinions aside, the law had been broken. Dr. Allen was arrested and charged with violation of a burial. The incident caused such a sensational scandal and was front-page news for weeks. There was much debate in town regarding Dr. Allen and his method for proving himself right. His trial commenced with, of course, Bathsheba Beers as the main witness. The descriptions of removing my head and the autopsy caused much swooning and fainting amongst the spectators. It was quite a show. When Dr. Allen took the stand, he eagerly and proudly admitted his guilt, which he claimed was necessary for the advancement of medical knowledge. The jury found him guilty and fined him $250, which he eagerly paid. The sensation brought about by the trial caused Dr. Allen's reputation to soar. To further the spectacle, Dr. Allen arranged for a parade down Main Street from his office to my gravesite here. He ceremoniously placed my head on the carriage seat next to him. Citizens lined the street on both sides, cheering and applauding. My final reburial was very well attended by a cheering crowd. What a spectacle! Dr. Allen continued in his now very successful practice, but was known as Old Head Allen from that day on. If you want to hear the doc's story, visit the Evergreen Cemetery, where he comes to life to tell his story. Well, that's about it for me. If you have time, visit some of my friends and neighbors here. Good day.